All is One Reflections. My name is Priestess Ifa Pumile, and I am a goddaughter of Reverend Priestess Oshun Fonke Iyanifa. And I am also staff at OHI, Black Spectrum Network, and the Voodoo Institute. I own Enchanted Vibes. I am a co-founder of Vibe and High, and I am just an overall badass. I do all the things. So today's class is about daily spiritual planning, routine building, and integration of your practice into everyday life. So this class is going to teach you how to do all this yourself. However, if you need more assistance, I also provide this as a service. And then I will just basically help you walk through every step of the process with you so that you can build your routine and be most excellent. So this is the first class in the Practical Priestess series, and I would like to thank Oshun Kamibi for that name because she always, every time I post something that's, normal, she always says we love a Practical Priestess. So thank you, Oshun Kamibi, for the name. This is your formal credit. I know I've said it. This is your formal credit for the name. As we move along this series, you will begin to understand how keeping things simple can help you be more efficient in everything. There's a saying called KISS, which stands for, or some people just say KISS, and that stands for keep it simple, stupid. I actually learned this from a history teacher I had in high school. His name was Mr. Allen, and he had some very unconventional methods. I will say he definitely could not be a teacher in today's climate. Like that, it just wouldn't work. He would have been ousted pretty quickly um, for various things, not because of his teaching, but just because of other things. But I learned a lot from him, super lot. He was a Marine veteran. He was a veteran of war. I believe the Vietnam War is the one that he was actually in. He was in Okinawa. Um, he was a lot of time in Okinawa. Like I can't remember. Yeah, he was there a lot. He may have some illegitimate Asian children somewhere. He was that kind of guy. But he was a black teacher who actually cared about black students. And so definitely some people would not like his methods, but for certain children, that was what was necessary. And we actually, when 9/11 happened, we were in his class and he had a TV. And so we actually saw the second tower hit while we were sitting in class. So I was in history class watching history happen in real time. Um, so the universe is an amazing place. Uh, I just rethought about that, and that's really crazy. Um, Priestess Ola Iya says she was in math class. Yeah, it's wild. Like we were actually in school watching on those big box TVs, on the big tube TVs that were on a cart that you had to push. Um, and I heard about the first one. I came back down to his class and I said, grab your TV and turn on the news because they saying the World Trade Center just got hit by a plane. My mom had just left there 2 weeks before. My mom was at the World Trade Center 2 weeks before when Aaliyah died in a plane crash. And so he grabbed his TV out of his office and turned it on. We were sitting there for maybe about 5 minutes before we saw the second tower get hit. Absolutely a wild time. What a time to be alive and like older, like being in high school and watching that. Yeah, Kamisha says she was in third grade. Like it's so crazy to think about where you were in your life when certain things happen and how old you are or not. It's just and how you process things as a child. It's absolutely crazy. That has little to do with this class, but it happens. So here we are. Told y'all, clownery, buffoonery, whole goofiness. So anyway, um, often when I'm in conversation with people and I explain like my day or my routine, I often hear, how do you have the time or how do you fit it all in? And really the key to my ability is integration and accuracy in execution. So, like if I'm being completely honest, I could do way more. Like I'm actually, to me, I'm very lazy. Like I procrastinate. Take I don't take forever to do things, but because once I do it, I'm doing it and it's done. But like me starting it sometimes is what takes too long for me to do. I waste a lot of time on my phone doing nothing productive, honestly. And but my execution of things is so accurate and precise that I can do most things extremely quickly compared to others. So while it may take somebody 3 hours to do something, it could take me 20 minutes because of my precision to do something. So instead of me taking that time to do with those 2.5 hours and doing something else productive, I waste it on Monopoly Go. Just saying, it's a thing. It happens. Um, if I had better focus, I would be able to, like, I'd be in a whole nother realm, basically. And that is something that I have to work on for my own development. But integration makes me be able to have this ridiculous amount of wasted time. It's not wasted, but time doing things that aren't as productive while also getting a bunch of things done and not feeling stressed out about it. Um, there is a PDF included in the series, so you should see it when you are logged onto this module. If you're watching this after this live and you don't see it, reach out to me and I'll make sure you have it. If you're in the coven and for whatever reason you lose track of the actual PDF I put in the chat, let me know. I'll make sure that you get it as well. So let's kind of get the rough part out of the way before I show you the planner. Um, actually, no, I'm going to go ahead and show you the planner first. Let me share my screen. And I don't know why it's pulling up this way, but this will help you get an idea of what it is you're seeing. So this is the planner. I scrolled down a little bit because I was looking at it. So if you're at the top, you have today's date, and whatever that is. I made this completely customizable. So if you skip a day, you don't have to worry about wasting a sheet of paper. You write your own days in here. You can plan things out ahead of time. I have it in the moon phase. So if you want to put today's moon is waning in Capricorn, whatever, however you want to do it, that is available to you. Important things about today. You can put like a ritual that we have to do or um, any other like random thing. And then there's also a section for birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. So somebody's birthday, if you have a hard time remembering, certain events that can go in the important things about today too. And then there's also a list of things to do today. So if you absolutely have to do laundry today, if your kid has a function at school today, if you have a ritual to do, something to participate in, if you have to go out of town and so you have to drive, so you can put prep for trip tomorrow, things like that. You can put on your things to do list. And that way, and this is just, 9 things. Obviously, some people have way more that to do, but you have these 9 things, especially if it's going to take more than a couple minutes, you might want to put it on here. And then you have your schedule. So the morning schedule, I actually have a full 24 hours on here because I hate how planners only have from like 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. because life doesn't start at 7 a.m., nor does it end at 10 p.m. Some of us have prayer times outside of that. I have a prayer time at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's my first prayer time. So I wish I had some of mine printed out and like down here with me. If I showed you mine, you'd see where there are times where on all of them at 4 a.m. I have pray. And then sometimes I don't go back to sleep after that because I have other things that I need to do before I do stuff. Or I'll just put sleep back. I'll put pray at 4, sleep at 5, and then at 6 I'll have get up and get ready. At 7 o'clock, I need to be out the door, depending upon what day of the week it is. If it's Monday through Friday, I have to be out the door by 7. And then I just go about my day. Now, when you get to the next page, it has afternoon and evening hours. So you have basically almost a whole thing for that. And then you can go down and there's like notes from today. So this is like a light journal. Um, it doesn't have to be deep or anything like that. But if something important happened that was a trigger that you may want to journal about later, you just don't have the time right now. That's something that you can write right there. Um, anything of note that happened today. You could put, if you have kids, if they had any milestone that happened today, like said mama, said dada, things like that. You could put it there just as a note and then like go back later and actually integrate it into their baby book or whatever it is, however it is that you're really documenting that. But this is a way to just do it while it's quick because you're going to keep looking at this all throughout the day. You can put it on there quickly and then actually take care of it at another time. And if you need to schedule that on your next day, like fill out journal from yesterday, then you can do that. And then after that, there are the moon phases for 2023 and 2024. So you will know when all the new and full moons are for the rest of this year and the entire year next year. So it is pretty comprehensive. And like I said, I have a version of this that has the EFA calendar. I have to finish 2024 and then I can give that to whomever would like that part of it. Does anybody have any questions about the PDF before I continue? Wonderful. Love to see it. So let's just get the rough part out of the way. When you're creating a ritual or a routine or your daily planning, you may realize that the first thing you need to do is you need to learn how to fast. If you've watched my faith and fasting class, you know that that's not just about food, although that is a great way to help with your mental, emotional, and spiritual clarity. There are other things that we fast from. This is more about removing things that do not serve you or help you achieve your goals. So something as simple as removing games from your phone. Say you have 5 games from your phone that you rotate between, but you have this big project and you know you can't focus because you keep playing the games on your phone. Remove them. And then once it's time again for you, like once you've accomplished this goal and now you have more free time, you can put them back on your phone and be fine. But sometimes we have to stop doing things that aren't helping us, especially if you know it's a trigger. You have to just go ahead and delete it. And you have to be adult enough and responsible enough in order to see yourself and then do that. Um, Not watching TV, which I know it's hard. I feel called out. Monopoly Go. I'm a big advocate of that game, and it wastes a lot of my time. And so I'm actually getting ready to delete it because we just finished that big event. I'm gonna get rid of all my energy and I'm gonna get rid of all my money, and then I'm gonna delete it for like 2 weeks just so I can catch up on everything that I need to do. But then that's something that you have to choose to do, right? You have to actually take those steps to remove certain things. TV is definitely a big one. Forgoing the club, the bar, or brunch, or at least for a set amount of time, not permanently, but just say, for the next week, I am not going to do this one thing because it really takes up a lot of my time and I really have a lot to do. Um, and this will allow more time in your schedule to do, again, things that will help you achieve your goals because you're not watching Real Housewives of Atlanta or whatever your vice is, things on YouTube, whatever it is. But that's not to say that you can't have fun or have any downtime. You just need to plan it better. So you can actually use this planner that I'm giving you and include certain events and activities you want to still include. So um, you just have to make sure that you can include any time that you need to get ready as well to actually go somewhere. So if you have an event that you want to go to, say you do have a brunch, you haven't had brunch with your friends in a while and you miss your friends and you need that like human interaction. So you want to go to brunch. Totally fine. Put the brunch on there and then also include the hour before the time of getting ready and the time of actually traveling. So that will help you actually plan out your day because you can't expect yourself to be doing multiple things at the same time. You can't also be doing an assignment while you're supposed to be getting ready for brunch. So kind of like plan that out a better. Plan your travel time. Put that in your planner so that you know, okay, I have to stop at this time because I have to start doing this because I have to be somewhere. Be that accurate, be that precise when you're doing your planner. And if you need to put like 30-minute marks, you can like do a slash or whatever like that. You can do something like that. You can set timers in your phone as well. That's a good way to keep yourself on track time-wise if you aren't in the habit of like looking at the time. That will help you. And then if you end up having like an hour of downtime, then you can use that time to do stuff like, watch Love and Hip Hop or play Monopoly Go or take a nap. And yes, absolutely schedule a nap sometimes because especially if you have kids or if you have a type of job where it's really fast paced and or where you actually have to bring work home, you definitely want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Schedule self-care. That's important too. And the best way to actually use this planner is to get like a 3-hole punch and get a binder. 3-hole punch it, put it in a binder, keep it that way. And then the next time you get an event, like say you have an event on November 18th, take a blank page, go ahead and print out a blank page, put November 18th on it, put your event in your things to do, and put it in the time slot that it needs to go in. Or you don't even have to put it in your things to do. Just put it in the time slot that it goes in and the time that you think you'll need to like get ready for it and when about you think you'll be back. Um, that way it's already in there. So that by the time you get to that day, when somebody asks you, "Oh, what are you doing on the 18th?" You can look in your planner and be like, "I have a wedding," or whatever thing that it is. You can do this in your phone. Most people know that you can do all this in your phone, but some people really work better with tangible pieces of paper, and I am that person that really works better with a tangible piece of paper, a physical something to touch, as opposed to just having my phone in my hand and scheduling all the alerts. I just like to write it and go about my business instead of going to my reminders, doing it, setting an alert, setting a reminder, setting alarms, and all that stuff when I could just write it down once, walk away, and go mind my business and do something else. So again, you could do it in your phone if you're not one for the physical planner. But if you're like me, use the physical planner to the most of your ability. Um, And like I said, you could just put that sheet in the binder and then worry about filling in the other days once you get to that point. So, that's a whole month away, but you know it's here. So you could just fill out that pager, put it at the back if you don't have anything else there, and then keep going with the regular days. And again, if you don't fill out the sheet for a day because you're sick or today's depression day, and those of you that have ever had depression or experienced depression, you know what that's like. Depression day, you don't do anything. You'll be good to get out of bed some days. You'll be good to brush your teeth and eat, let alone look at a planner or do anything productive. So that's again why I made this so customizable so that if you skip a day, it's not going to hurt anything. Priestess Olaia says physical planner. I'm excited. Again, the digital calendars don't always work for me. Don't always work well. Yeah, I agree. I personally don't jive well with the digital ones. And there's no real wrong way to do this. The only wrong way to do it is to do nothing. So find out how it works for you and your routine and then do it that way. So other things to include on this planner, you can do tasks like laundry, grocery shopping, or even work tasks like checking emails, checking payroll, or whatever else it is that you do. If it's something that's going to take a bunch of time, I would print these out at work all the time. And before I even made this planner, I would say probably before my daughter was even born, or right around the time she was born, when I was trying to get things ready so that I was on task for when I went on maternity leave. Um, I actually would take blank pieces of paper and write times, like the time slots, and then write what I was going to do in that time slot so that I would stay on task. So this is just a more mature, pretty version of that. Um, and so I would write my work tasks. So if I had to, I was a property manager at the time. So if I had to put out notices, I would have the schedule of making the notice and schedule of making the notice, printing the notice, and like labeling the notice, and then actually the time that it would take me to put them out. So we had a 226 unit property. So it would only take me about an hour to do the whole thing because of the way our property was set up, but it was still time consuming. And so I would have that scheduled out so I know what I needed to do. If I had a show that I had scheduled, I would put the person's name, like show with so and so at 12 o'clock, so that I knew that I needed to have my ass back in that office at 12. And it was just a way for me to not forget what what it is that I needed to do for work. And then, but that would just be the work one. I have this done for work and at home sometimes. I have this done for like on Saturdays or Sundays when I'm at home, but I have a lot of coven responsibilities. So those are the days where like I sit down and I kind of plan those things out a little bit better. Does it always happen? No. But writing it down and seeing it helps you manifest things if you weren't aware. Just like a vision board, how vision boards help you manifest because you're looking at it. It's the same thing with a planner. Having you see it constantly and reminding yourself of what it is you need to do helps you get it done a little bit better and more efficiently. Doesn't always work, but for some people it works really, really well. Self-care. So like getting your hair done, getting your nails done, massages, that can go on there as time slots. Dates with your spouse or significant other, dates with a random person, whatever. You can put that on there. Um, Family time with kids. So like going to the park or going to an exhibit or the movies, things like that. You can put that on there and plan that. Prayer times. So this is kind of like the spiritual part of that. And again, I said integration is key, right? So you have to find ways to keep your spiritual life and the rest of your life integrated, because if you keep them separate, that really that's what causes dysfunction, because you're trying to be different people instead of being all of you all the time. So put your prayer times on here so that you know. Put if you have to take a spiritual bath because it's the full of the new moon, that's your trigger. When you write full or new moon on that planner, or when you look at the back and you see, oh, today's full moon, that's your trigger. Like, oh, I got to do a spiritual bath today, so I need to plan my day around this spiritual bath, because after I do this, I can't talk to none of y'all motherfuckers. I can't speak to y'all. I can't be on social media. I can't touch my phone. And so you actually do have to plan for that to make sure that you are set up and that your kids are taken care of and all that before you do that. So make sure you're adding spiritual baths. Rituals. We have regular rituals in our coven, and we have rituals that are in BSN that some of us participate in. So like Rich Spirit is happening later this month. That would be something to put on there, because that's, depending upon how many days she does it, 4 to 7 days where you have things that you have to do for that ritual every day. I participated in a couple of rituals where we had to be in the bed by a certain time, or else it messed with the energy of the ritual. And so I had to plan for that. I had to make sure that my kids were taken care of, everybody was fed and showered and like out of my way by 9:20 every night, because I had to be in the bed, I think at 9:22. It was an off number. It wasn't even like a regular number. It was like 9:22, 9:27, something like that. We had to be in the bed. And once we got in the bed, you can get up to pee, but like that's it. You're not getting up to talk to nobody, nothing like that. And so those are things that you really actually have to plan your day around to make sure that you're accomplishing things. Assignments. This could be whether it's in the coven or, whatever else you're involved in where you have to like actually do some work and turn it in and show it. This is particularly important for coven assignments, because we have an assignment pretty much every day. And sometimes it can be really easy to get lost in what it is we're supposed to do. And we end up doing our divinations at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., instead of taking care of it at a more appropriate time because we lacked planning. I am guilty of this, big time. Or I'll do the divination, but I forget to post it. So that's a whole other issue by itself. But things like that, even work sessions. Sometimes we do like group work sessions. Um, the Coven classes themselves. Oh, if you could put them on this planner and daily, that way you can say as soon as you see that calendar, put them on there, and then when once it gets rescheduled, move it to the day it gets rescheduled for when we say it's rescheduled, because that can be so much chaos without it. There's so many teachers now in the Coven, and one person cancels and you're kind of like relieved because now you have things that you can get done, but then you have to worry about remembering when the next class is. So using the planner will definitely help you. Outside of your planner, checklists are absolutely your friend. You don't have to remember everything. Like, trying to keep everything in your head is not a healthy way or a good way to make sure that things get done. Write or type a checklist, whichever one is better for you. You can actually make one in your reminders if you have an iPhone. I'm sure Android has a similar function where you can do checklists, and as you do things, you check it and it takes it off. So again, if you like the phone version, the digital version of it without paper, you can do it that way as well. But make a checklist regardless of how it is you need to make it. And if you have to write every step of the process to make sure that you don't forget something, absolutely, absolutely do that. I live for a checklist, baby. I absolutely like you. I have a checklist at work. I started to type it and I left space, and it has little boxes so I can like check things off. And then I left some empty ones because I could only think of like 20 things to do at the time. So there was some empty boxes on the rest of the page. So when I printed it, as I thought of more things I needed to do, or as I got more tasks, I would write down the new task. And I usually end up writing on the side where there is no bullet points as well. So I usually have at least two sides of bullet points. And then I may end up using the corners depending on the situation. And then after a while, once I get at least half of that done, I will just retype what needs to be actually typed into the next checklist, and then delete what needs to be gone, and then just print out a new one and start fresh. But I do that constantly. I have one on my desk right now, a new one I just reprinted for myself yesterday. Um, and it's actually in my Google Docs so that I can actually pull it up from my work computer so that this weekend, after this class particularly, I can continue working on that checklist without having to have that physical piece of paper. So doing them in like a Google Doc where you can have it at all times, that is also helpful. Um, and if you copy this, you may be able to actually edit a little bit to where you can manipulate it to where you can like type in the answers. Just be careful of the spacing. But if that's something that you want to do, um, you just have to like copy paste it, and it should definitely work that way. Um, Make sure you're on mute. Somebody was not on mute before. Um, I have a checklist for like my classes that I want to do. I have that is a digital checklist, and they are actually the ones I've done are in green. And as I was getting ready for this class, I thought of a great idea for me is that the ones that are done or that I've started, I can actually attach the Google Doc that I wrote their notes in to my little checklist. That way it's easier for me to get to it because they'll get lost because I have a bazillion Google Docs in my files. And so that is something you can do too, especially for those of you who teach in OHI. Just you get an idea and you don't know what to do with it yet and you don't really have the time, you can definitely start a Google Doc and then use like text to talk or whatever, and then just say your ideas and get them out of your head so you don't forget, and then go about your business. This happens all the time because I'll be driving, and for some reason, the combination of driving and music makes my brain explode and think of all the things that I could be doing other than driving. And things that I can do nothing about while I am driving. And so I use that feature and I just speak into a Google Doc the thoughts that are coming to my head when they're happening. It's like an instant transmission of my downloads. Because if you've ever had a download before, you know they come at weird ass times. Like you could be on the toilet, you could be talking to your boss, you could be in the grocery store, all types of things when a random download will come. And so just putting it in a Google Doc quickly will kind of help you get through that part of the process. Um, let's see. Does anybody have any questions so far? That's not okay. Um, so also as I was typing this synopsis up, I thought about how Rome was not built in a day. And sometimes we look at other people's progress and we try to match that energy or match their progress, or we feel like we're behind because we're not in a certain place. Try to stop doing that as much as possible. Everybody has their own unique set of circumstances and situations that lead them to places where they need to be. And so don't get too hung up on what other people are doing. Just focus on you. Focusing on you will help you achieve your goals much faster than looking at other people. And so I'm actually going to do a class called Rome Was Not Built in a Day. And we're going to go over how to effectively and efficiently set up your goals and the things that you need to do to achieve those goals so that you achieve it efficiently and effectively and without a whole bunch of chaos and dysfunction. Um, because that is something that sometimes we get lost in the process. We start things with the best of intentions, and then we end up not finishing them because we get lost somewhere in the process because we don't know how to move forward. And so that will be part of this is the first bundle. There will be a second bundle that starts next year, and that will be one of those classes in there. I actually already started to write some notes for it, so that was helpful. But I will go in depth about, like I said, how to set goals and intentions and the steps needed to execute. Um, and also, faith without works is not dead. Faith without works is dead. So you have to allow the universe to move energy for you, but you also have to show the universe that you can handle that energy. Sometimes we get so focused on trying to achieve a goal that we don't realize what it is we need to do to maintain the goal. And maintaining it is more important than achieving it the one time. Because, oh, yeah, I made $1 million this year. Okay. But what is your plan to continue that? Or, oh, I got a new car. Wonderful. That's great. How are you going to pay that new car payment? Because it's $400 a month now, and your insurance went up $100. These are things that you have to plan for. And getting back to the spiritual planning part, you have to have some type of goal spiritually. You have to have some type of game plan for your spiritual wellness. So whether that is being in mentorship or taking classes, whatever that is, you need to make sure you're doing that. And then you need to figure out how to integrate that into your daily life, which is again why we have this planner. But also, and throughout the series, we're going to talk about this a little bit more. And you'll kind of figure out ways how to do this a little bit better. But again, like I said earlier, you have to stop trying to live multiple lives at once. Like work life being separate from real life, that's one thing, right? But your spiritual life should not be separate from your real life. Those should be integrated completely. So if you are practicing, regardless of what your spiritual practice is, whether it is being Buddhist or Hindu or Christian or Orisha Hoodoo or Vodou, whatever it is, that needs to be fully integrated into your life in order for you to achieve your goals, for you to be at peace, and for you to be great. Um, you cannot live a double life. You cannot practice in secret. If you're practicing in secret, you need to evaluate what parts of your shadow need to be healed to where you don't need to do that anymore. Or you need to evaluate why you're so focused on what other people think that you are not willing to just practice. Now, practicing in secret and not telling people your business is two different things as well. So you can there's plenty of people who practice Ifa and you wouldn't know it unless you really knew them as a person. And that is fine. There's ways to do that. But your kids, your significant other, your spouse, people that live in your home, that is, those people should know what you're doing and what you're about spiritually. Those people should be fully aware. Now, do they have to know everything that you do and why? No. But if you're hiding your spiritual practice from the people who live in your home, you will not have peace. You will not be at peace. You will have a really hard time with integrations because you're hiding arguably probably the most important part of yourself by hiding your spiritual life. So you have to find ways to integrate that. And if that means, so you're not going to lose your children because your children really don't give a fuck. They really don't care. Don't force your belief on your children. Let your children find their own path. Same thing with your spouse or whoever you're dating. Let them find their own path. However, if they are going to ridicule and belittle you for your spiritual practice, they don't need to be in your life. Period. Doesn't matter what it is. Again, it doesn't matter if you're Christian or, you know, Islamic, whatever it is. If the people in your life cannot accept you and your religious practice, then they don't need to be there. Especially they don't need to be in your house. You can have friends from a different religious practice that, they don't really get along. So you can have, you know, a friend who is, what are they called? You could have a friend that's a 5%er, and then you can have a friend who is Christian, and that's totally fine. And you could be Islamic, right? And you can, do that and maneuver that in a way that is mature, right? If you're a mature adult, you should be able to maneuver that situation. But if those people are going to belittle you for your beliefs, you don't need to be around them. But you wouldn't have those people in your home acting like that either. So I know it's like a hard pill for some of us to swallow, but particularly the people that we choose to be in relationships with, we have to pick those people much, much better than we do. So if you are practicing in the closet from your spouse or significant other, that has to absolutely stop because that will cause so much more chaos and confusion for you. Like I said, kids don't care. Your parents, they're not in your house. So if they don't like it, they don't like it. We ain't got to talk about it ever again. But the person that you are choosing to share your life with in an intimate way, they either need to be respectful or on board, but they can't be working against you and your spiritual growth. So because as long as you're growing, it doesn't matter what your spiritual practice is. My boyfriend could come in this house and say right now that he wants to become Buddhist. And I'm like, great, let's get some books. And I will help him in his growth to become the best Buddhist he could be. I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to try and be like, but I practice Arisha. Who do you should care? I'm not going to do none of that because that's not my journey to have. He needs to have his own journey and his own path. And so, and there's things that you can learn from being Buddhist and learn from studying Buddhism. So it's not like it's a bad thing, right? If you're not willing to learn new things, it's going to be a problem, period. You're going to have problems in life. So don't be closed-minded. Being closed-minded will definitely help stall your progress in any spiritual anything. So the first part of the integration is your immediate home life, your relationship with people in your house. They should know loosely what it is that you do. It shouldn't be something that you hide from them. If you have a class or a ritual to do, they should at some point understand what that means. I have a teenager and a 10-year-old. If I say I have class, they're like, bet. And they leave me alone. They don't come now, depending upon what type of class it is. If I'm teaching the class, they will absolutely leave me alone. If I'm not teaching and I'm just, a participant in the class, they may pop on the side with their faces and make weird faces in the camera every now and then. But they're not going to be causing chaos while I'm in class because they respect the fact that I'm in class. If I am doing a ritual or working, they respect the space. They don't come walking back and forth. They don't come asking me a bunch of questions because I have taught them that when I'm doing this, I need to be doing this. I can't be talking back and forth. I can't be making you plates, heating up stuff in the microwave. I can't I can't be checking homework. Like, let me do this and then we will address things later. And this is part of having boundaries. Having boundaries will help you have a better integration. Have boundaries with the people around you and let them know that when you got something to do, you got something to do. It don't always have to involve them. Sometimes children have a hard time with that. Sometimes spouses have a hard time with that. But if you can't have that healthy boundary with them, it's going to cause you a lot of problems. We had somebody who was actually in the coven who would have done really well. However, they had a problem with boundaries with their family. They had not even begun to integrate their spiritual life and their home life. And so their kids, their grown kids, would ask them for things while they were trying to do rituals. Their grown kids, when they would be in class, they would call, and just saying, "Hey, I'm in class," was not sufficient. Then they would get, "But mom, and he did it." No, what did I say? I'm in class because they lack boundary. Their spouse wanted to go on a whole trip because they didn't want to be without them for this brief amount of time while they went on the trip. But they didn't want to participate in the trip. They just wanted to be present because they lacked those types of boundaries in their life. And so, please, I beg, please, oh, please, I'm on my knees. Get healthy boundaries with the people that are definitely within your home, but also with other people. If I tell my mom that I have a class or I got to teach a class, she she doesn't call me. If if she forgets and she calls me, I will not answer, and I will send her a text say, "I'm teaching class. I'll call you back when I'm done." And she'll say, "Oh, okay." And then she goes and minds her business somewhere else. You have to create boundaries with people. And again, that's part of the integration. If I was doing everything in secret, then I would have to hear, "Oh, what class you got? What class you teaching?" It's not like that because I've already set expectations and explained a little bit of what it is that I do. I don't tell them everything. My mom probably she's watched maybe a couple of my YouTube things, but she hasn't watched everything on YouTube, even though they're completely free. She hasn't watched it all. She's never been in one of my classes, and I'm fine with that. But if I tell her I'm teaching a class, she understands that I'm teaching a class. If I tell her I'm doing a reading at 7 o'clock, that means I'm doing a reading at 7 o'clock. She's not going to say, "Oh, can you push it back?" She's not going to do that because she respects my time and she respects what I'm doing because I've been upfront and honest about what I'm doing. Does anybody have any questions about that? Does anybody have any questions about any questions, comments, or concerns? Nobody got nothing. Did anybody learn anything in this class so far? I see head shaking. I see head shakings. Omi Yemi, what did you learn today? You got to unmute yourself.
I learned that your class was coinciding in my divinations that I've been getting all week is to if this is the path and the journey that I'm being it, do it and if I'm gonna do it a certain way to do it as well. I'm gonna be in this, make sure that I'm staying on top of myself, making plans and sticking to it and controlling games and stuff. I got that bad right now. So I'm just, I'm here, I'm learning it, and I'm gonna be working on it.
Wonderful. Um, Destiny, are you able to talk? What'd you learn today?
I learned that I need to be precise and just actually put the schedule together and follow it. I am a little nervous about prioritization because I think that's where I fall short. Because sometimes I make checklists, but it's about like what is my priority, and I might pick the most unproductive thing to do on the list, take too long, and then big stuff don't get done. So that's where I need to put all my attention onto. But I learned that I need to actually make a decent list, put it together, and execute it. So no distractions. We not about to watch American Horror Story, even though it's Halloween. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So for you, I would say those big things, put those in a time slot so that you have to like do that. So like if something um say you got a working you're supposed to do, but you got a whole bunch of other little stuff you got to do, and like, oh, I can do that working tomorrow. No, girl, put the working on there, put it on there for a time where the kids ain't gonna bother you, and get that shit done. Get it
Yeah. And I think if I stick at it, it'll get better with time. I'll get faster with time. Because I can't really put no time limit on my spiritual work right now. It take however long it take. But so
But
thank you.
as you do your spiritual work, you'll get quicker. And if you
Mhm.
start doing it more regularly, you'll get quicker, especially divinations and like approval and enchanting. That's something that you just got to keep doing it. And then once you do it, you'll be fine. I believe in you.
Thank you so much.
Priestess Olaida.
Hello, everyone. I was just gonna say I'm excited to actually just get back in the groove of doing my handwritten scheduling because for a while I've just tried to just use like digital calendars and sometimes they don't always sync up how they're supposed to. So and then sometimes I'd be like, well, where's my planner? And then I realized, oh, you haven't been keeping a planner, right? So now I'm just like, this class has just gotten me like excited to get back into my physical writing in my planner. So I'm gonna make a custom one at the
And
craft store.
the good thing about having it this way is that if you skip a day or a week or a month, it doesn't really affect the planner because it's a sheet that you printed out and you wrote the day. And
Mhm.
so you can kind of realign yourself when you actually when you get too far off.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Oshun Kamibi.
You already know this is gonna be like one of my favorite series for me. But I appreciate all the examples that you shared, from your personal family ones to like actually working like from, I don't want to say real job, but I guess mundane job, you know what I mean? To really understand the getting ready and travel time and little things that we don't really consider when we are on the go, especially with all them kids, especially with everything else that we have to consider. So I really appreciate the breakdown for everything. And I appreciate just the general, big sister elder love you've given us about understanding that our schedule is our schedule. And, it's important that even if it doesn't look like yours or, look like anybody else's, as long as we're doing what you thought and Ori says, we are good to go. So thank you.
Absolutely. Don't be worried about everybody else's schedule. Unless they schedule intertwines with you. Because if y'all have dinner plans, motherfuckers need to show up. Okay? Don't be wasting my time. Okay?
Period.
Don't be wasting my time. But other than that, you do your business over there. I do my business over here. All right. Well, does anybody else have anything they wanted to say real quick? All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you all. Um, make sure that you continue to watch everything else in the series. There are 5 more live classes. If you're watching this after the fact, there are 5 more classes. 6 more if you include the elderberry serve class, which is amazing. And if you want me to actually do your spiritual routine with you, that is a service that I provide. If you just go to omoware.learnarishahoodoo.com. Yes, Oshun Kamibi.
And I want to speak on that because I actually got that service before I joined Coven, for those of you guys who don't know. And it is very exact, not just from the things from my ancestral life path reading, but also the things that came up with the divination with Priestess Ifa and Family Omaware. So if it's something that you guys need, don't feel away. Even if you're in this class, it's okay to reach out for extra support because that's the purpose of us being here. Okay, so really take advantage of everything. And she has the shadow work boot camp coming up next month. I think the next round is. So take advantage
November
of that.
1st. Yeah.
Right.
Last day for the round 3 was yesterday. So there was a lot going on. And as far as someone asked, how do you join the coven? So we do interviews. Reverend Priestess Oshun Funke Iyanifa. It's her coven. And so you will have an interview with a panel. It's usually her and 2 to 3 other senior priestesses, some of which are part of Black Spectrum Network, as well as the Orisha Hoodoo Institute. So we've had, I've done some, Priestess Omo Shule has done some, Mambo Say has done some, Mambo Soleil has been part of some. I believe Love Goddess may have been part of some sometimes. And so it's just, we would do an interview. It's kind of ask some questions, get your questions answered, and really see where you are in your spiritual journey. Because for some people, the coven is not a good first place to start. If you are like super new to any type of African spirituality or super new to BSN and how we do things, we actually have a community outreach program that may be a better place to start because it's more self-paced. And it's free to be in the program, but there are classes and supplies and stuff that you will need as you go throughout the program and through the levels. Oshun Kamibi was also in our community outreach program as it is now. And so that really helps with a lot of foundational stuff, and it gets you prepared for the coven. The coven is a little bit intense, and I say that lovingly because I don't want people to have false perceptions and think we're just hanging out and kikiing all the time, because we're not. We have an assignment every day. Some assignments take more time than others. Some are very quick. Some are simple, like wearing all white and fasting and doing a divination. It seems simple, but it's not. So the coven will really help you with integration because you ain't going to be able to hide your practice while in the coven. Not for very long. You may be able to practice for a little bit, but it's not going to last very long. I end up having to wear white for a whole year, over a year. And so obviously that garnered a lot of questions from people who knew me before because they're like, what? And then I changed my name on social media and they're like, what is happening? Right. So that goes back to that integration piece. Being in the coven is definitely something that will get you right together if you were not previously right together. But it's not intense as in it's difficult. It's just intense as that we have daily requirements. Some days it's just a prayer, but 5 days out of the week, we got something that we're responsible for turning in and doing. And so if you're not in our Discord, the link I post the link all the time. If you go to my link tree, when I posted about this class, if you go to the link tree link, it'll have a link to the Discord. And once you're in there and set up, just tag me and let me know, and I can put you in the community outreach program. If you need any assistance, you can always reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram or wherever it is that you see me. I am either Ifeanyi Omowari Ogboyomi or Priestess Ifeanyi Omowari on like everything. If you type in Ifeanyi, you'll see me because there's not a whole lot of that particular name everywhere. So reach out to me if you need assistance. My inbox is always open, as some of y'all know, because y'all be in there. And then we can make sure that you get where you need to be, whether that be community outreach or get you an audience with Ia for your interview for mentorship. At this time, entering into the mentorship is $500 a month. And that pays for, like, this class would be free and my entire series would be free if you were in the coven, as well as all the other classes that we have. And you have a lot more access to Ia by being in the coven that you would not have otherwise. And anybody who's ever been in the coven, y'all know that Ia loves on us real bad. So you'll have a lot of more one-on-one time with her and personal time with her to really understand her process, why we are and what we are as Orisha Hoodoo and all those things. Definitely being in the coven is life-changing, but being in community outreach is a very good place to start. It's nothing wrong with starting in community outreach first to kind of get your feet wet a little bit, get your money up if you have to, and then, joining the coven once you are financially able to easily pay that $500 a month. And then as you go through the process, the amount comes down. So I've had 2 ceremonies since I've joined, and so I don't pay $500 a month. Mine is lower because I've invested in my spiritual life in other ways, and Ia recognizes that and will reduce the tuition as you go. And because I am a teacher, actually, so like this month, I've sold enough classes and done enough readings to where I'm actually in the black for my coven dues. It's already paid for through all the classes and readings and stuff that I've done, and it's only the 7th. So it works out when you are working in a more accurate and precise way. I still got a lot of work to do though. Don't be me, be better than me. That's what he always says. Does anybody have anything else? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. We got a lot of information at the end about the coven, so that's a commercial I don't have to give. So thank you for that question. Thank you for that inquiry. Thank you, Oshun Kamibi, for your personal experiences, because that is always helpful when people hear from somebody other than the person teaching the class. It adds some realism and some perspective to it. So thank you, Oshun Kamibi, for being our guerrilla warrior. We appreciate you so much. I love you all. And remember to keep your head so high you don't even see the haters. Peace.